Theresa Caputo, a medium from Long Island, must now make a tough family choice. Theresa has been dealing with a serious family dilemma lately. She had 2 children, a daughter and a son, who both accused one another. "Mom, if your son is in this house, I will not stay here even for a moment," the daughter stated clearly. Theresa is at the center of this scenario, mentally distraught. She responds, "Whom should I throw out of the house? Just as you are my daughter, he is my son. I cannot take sides. I do not want to hurt anyone." Both are equally loved by Theresa's inner mother. However, she has reached a crossroads where pain is unavoidable regardless of her course. Everyone is now anticipating how Theresa, as a mother and a person, will handle this complexity. Although it was a sunny Saturday morning in Hicksville, Long Island, Theresa Caputo felt as though the sun didn't have any warmth. The woman who was well known across the nation for her capacity to speak with the dead was now having difficulty finding harmony with her own children. The heavy silence of broken hearts now filled the house that used to resound with birthday celebrations, laughter, and Sunday pasta dinners. Standing at the kitchen island, Theresa gazed into her unopened coffee cup. Her trademark stilettos and flawlessly styled blonde hair were insufficient to conceal the fatigue in her eyes. She had been exhausted by her son, Larry Jr., and her daughter, Victoria, fighting a war, not by a ghost visit. 2 weeks prior, a family get-together had descended into a flurry of accusations and unspoken grudges. Now a mother herself, Victoria had stood in the center of the living room and sobbed, "Mom, I can't live like this anymore. I won't be in this house if Larry is. I've had enough, regardless of the cause." Select. Those words almost made Theresa's heart stop. Sitting on the other side of the room, her son tightened his jaw and remained silent, but the expression in his eyes betrayed her. "Really, Vic?" He mumbled this and slammed the door behind him as he left the house that evening. The atmosphere remained strained in the days that followed. Refusing to talk to her brother or even approach the house if he was present, Victoria stayed with friends. When Larry Jr. did visit, however, he strolled through the house quietly, his customary warmth giving way to icy remoteness. Theresa was ripped in a manner for which neither mother nor medium could prepare. She had always been the one who kept the peace, kept people together, and helped them heal. Now, however, she felt unable to mend her own family. She sat in her reading room one evening, surrounded by photos of her late parents and the reassuring flicker of candles. She softly reached out to the spirits she trusted most, not to any client. "I need you, Ma. Dad, if you can hear me." Theresa had the familiar tingle in her arms, the feeling she usually had when spirit was close by, as the flame of the closest candle abruptly danced, just a flicker. But there was no clear message. Not now. She came to the sad realization that the opposing side wasn't supposed to make this choice. This was her path, her burden to bear. Theresa asked both of her kids to come over to the house the following day, but separately. She sat with Victoria first. With a little trembling in her voice, she said, "You know I love you, sweetheart. However, whatever transpired between you and your brother is consuming this family. And I want you to realize that if you choose one of you, you will lose the other. And I'm unable to do it. Never, ever now." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "But you don't get it, Mama." "What he did. I don't require the specifics. I am aware that it caused you pain. I am also aware that he is in pain. However, that pain will remain in you if you and your partner part ways forever. It will establish roots. And it won't be possible to mend things when I'm gone." Larry Jr. arrived later that night. Somehow, he appeared worn out and older. Sitting next to him on the porch swing, Theresa reiterated what she had told Victoria. He tightened his hands and replied, "Mom, I didn't start this." "Perhaps not," she replied tactfully, covering his hand. "But you can put an end to it. And with love, not with arrogance." A week went by. Then Victoria arrived on a calm Sunday afternoon. Theresa observed her daughter's automobile when she was in the garden. Larry Jr.'s vehicle also arrived before she could speak. Theresa stopped. Silently, the two siblings stood on the driveway. Theresa, remained silent. Her heart was racing as she watched from a distance. Victoria responded, "I'm not ready to forget everything," after a protracted silence. "However, I'm sick of detesting you." The old feeling returned for a moment as Larry Jr. gazed at her. "The same," he said. "Perhaps we could just try?" Theresa's throat tightened each breath. She only needed to hear that. The three of them tentatively sat down at the dining table later that evening. The silence had subsided, but the house was still not entirely restored. Grief, bitterness, and separation were starting to fade like ghosts. And this was the most authentic kind of healing that the Long Island medium, Theresa Caputo, had ever experienced, not from outside, but from within. But Theresa Caputo, the renowned Long Island medium, was set to make an appearance at a quaint event venue on a cool autumn afternoon in Long Island. The air was charged with nerves and excitement. A woman called Jennifer Martinez sat among the eager guests, her hands clenched around an antique leather bracelet that had once belonged to her late brother, Alex. Driven by an inexplicable calm hope, Jennifer had traveled in from Chicago. 6 years had passed since Alex's terrible motorcycle accident. She had been haunted by unresolved questions and a hollow aching after his unexpected demise. She hadn't bid farewell. Because of a trivial disagreement, they had not communicated for weeks prior to the disaster, and the guilt tore at her like an unshakable shadow. Theresa Caputo emerged as the audience fell silent, her energy electrifying, her trademark blonde hair pulled high. After greeting the audience with her customary warmth and humor, she paused and tilted her head, her eyes narrowing slightly. While moving gently across the floor, Theresa remarked, "I'm picking up a younger male energy who passed suddenly." He said it happened quickly, as if there had been no warning. "An accident involving a motorcycle? Something involving leather and a broken promise, is what I'm hearing." Jennifer gasped. Her eyes filled with tears. Theresa's eyes were fixed on her. "I believe he is here for you, honey." Jennifer's voice was shaking as she nodded. "Alex, my brother. He perished in an accident. I never had the opportunity to say goodbye." Theresa sat next to her and touched her hand tenderly. "He's displaying a bracelet to me and says you should keep it." Jennifer's fingers trembled as she held it up. "It belongs to him. I put it on every day." Theresa's voice softened as a gentle grin appeared on her face. "You've punished yourself enough," he replies. "That argument was never used against you by him. He was aware of your love for him. He should have apologized because, that week, he was acting like a jerk, right?" Jennifer's laughter was stifled. "Indeed. He was. He wants me to express his pride in you for persevering and completing school even if it seemed unachievable. And that you've already done more than you realized to honor his memory." Jennifer sobbed quietly as she let go of years of grief. "Thank you. This was exactly what I needed." Theresa gave her hand a squeeze. "Every time you speak to him, he hears you. You didn't imagine that. He is ever present, particularly when you hear the tune you two adored." Reminiscent of the late-night journeys with Alex blaring Bohemian Rhapsody, Jennifer nodded. As Jennifer had a moment of calm she hadn't had in years, the audience watched in emotional stillness. Theresa glanced back again as she got up to continue. "Oh, and he claims that he still detests pizza with pineapple. That hasn't altered." Jennifer started laughing while crying. It seemed for a minute that Alex had really returned, if only briefly. But the View studio was a hive of unexpected enthusiasm on a cool Wednesday morning in New York City. It was because Long Island medium Theresa Caputo was set to make a live appearance, and her presence always attracted more than simply ratings, not because of politics, celebrity rumors, or contentious social problems. Co-hosts Ana Navarro and Sunny Hostin were backstage chatting and making notes, but as soon as Theresa entered the green room, the atmosphere changed. With her teased blonde hair standing tall like a crown and wearing her trademark high heels, she exuded a calm intensity that momentarily silenced the busy room. "Ladies," Theresa said kindly, showing off her glistening fingernails, "someone is already attempting to enter. Ever since I entered the building, they have been bothering me." Anna's eyebrows went up. "Oh boy." She tried to be cool, but her Cuban heritage made her highly reverent of everything spiritual. "Here we go," she said with a laugh. Sunny, however, seems more receptive, even curious. She had always thought that life was more complex than it first appeared. Joy Behar gave Theresa a theatrical greeting as the live recording got underway, saying, "Our favorite spirit whisperer is back. It's all Theresa Caputo." As Theresa sat between Sunny and Whoopi Goldberg, the audience erupted in cheers. Joy leaned in following some lighthearted teasing and Theresa's tour scheduling updates. "So, Theresa," she inquired, "you mentioned that someone had already been speaking with you before we had even begun?" Theresa looked to Sunny and gave a sad nod. "I have a question for you," she started. "Do you have an older male relative, such as a grandfather, who went away from heart disease? He has been mentioning justice while displaying a gold watch to me." Sunny gasped. Her eyes filled with tears. "My grandfather," she muttered. "He used to say, always pursue justice, no matter the cost. He was a lawyer, and that watch was a retirement present. It's still in a drawer with me." Theresa gently caressed Sunny's hand as she reached across. "He claims that you're carrying out his wishes precisely, speaking the truth and confronting injustices. He adds, I'm proud of the fire in you, but remember to take a break sometimes. You are carrying more than you show others." Everyone in the room was attentive. Even Whoopi averted her gaze for a second to gather herself. Theresa then turned to face Anna. "Anna, did a close male relative or your brother pass away suddenly?" Anna's expression instantly changed. "Emilio, my cousin. We grew up as if we were siblings. He lost his life in a Miami vehicle accident. I haven't discussed him in years." Theresa softened her tone. "He wants you to know that he was not in pain. Tell her I heard her," he says. "Do you occasionally speak with him?" Anna's joy turned to tears. She said, "Every time I return to Little Havana." "Maybe I was just crazy," I thought. Theresa gave a nod. "You're not. He is with you. He also wants you to get over your guilt. You were supposed to live," he says. The studio had an electrifying atmosphere. What the crew was doing had ceased. Many people in the audience were crying, and there was silence. The man with the teleprompter had even paused. Each of the co-hosts wanted to share a memory, a hope, or a concern, so they gathered around Theresa backstage after the performance ended. Theresa, however, simply grinned and remarked, "They're always with you." I simply offer them a voice for a brief period of time. A sense of calm seemed to accompany her as she left the studio, as if the barrier between the living and the dead had been momentarily lifted, enough to bring healing, to affirm love, and to remind everyone in attendance that relationships don't cease when one dies. And that day was a turning moment for Anna and Sunny, not simply another episode, when the invisible became indisputable. But the well-known fashionista and TV personality Carson Kressley entered the warm, illuminated room where Theresa Caputo gave her readings with trepidation on a sunny fall afternoon. A tiny table at the corner was laden with crystals, pictures, and handwritten notes, and the air was infused with the subtle aroma of sage. Cameras were covertly set up for a private session Theresa had consented to film for Carson's personal records, not for a big production. Sparkly, self-assured, and bursting with laughter, Carson had always been the life of the party. However, he appeared more subdued and thoughtful today. He hadn't talked much about his loss in public, but he had been grieving for years after losing Jamie, his college best friend. Jamie was a vivacious, highly creative person who died in a vehicle accident more than 10 years ago. Carson had never recovered completely. He frequently sensed Jamie's presence, but he was never sure if it was a recollection or something real. Theresa entered with her signature hair, cheery smile, and serene demeanor. She gave him a warm greeting and a firm hug, saying, "Hi, sweetheart. Are you prepared?" "As I will always be," Carson said with a little smile. Theresa closed her eyes as they sat down. After a little pause, she inhaled deeply. She spoke softly as her voice became more focused. "I have a young man here with me. He has been waiting a long time to speak with you, and he passed away unexpectedly." Carson's gaze expanded. Theresa smiled broadly and remarked, "He's funny." As in caustic humor. He keeps making jokes about how you can still burn toast if you never learn to cook. Carson let out a gasp. That's just what he used to make fun of me for, Jamie. Carson, don't open a restaurant if fashion fails. He would advise. Theresa laughed. He expresses his pride in you. He claims to have watched every episode of everything you have done. Drag Race, Project Runway, and the entire glitzy circus. Tell her that the runway between heaven and earth is the real runway, he says. Carson chuckled, tears now welling up in his eyes. He sounds exactly like that. Excessive poet all the way to the conclusion. Serious now? Theresa nodded. He claims that you have been harboring guilt. That night, you weren't present. That you didn't answer the phone? Carson lost it. On the night of the accident, I was meant to meet him. Due to a fitting in Los Angeles, I had to cancel at the last minute. Just before leaving the party, he made an attempt to phone me. I never did pick up. Theresa bent across. He claims that nothing would have changed as a result.
And he wants you to forget about that.
Carson, you didn't miss my ending, he says. You simply weren't intended to hold it. With the exception of Carson's soft cries, the room was quiet. He's showing me sunflowers, too. Do you find any significance in them? Carson gave a slow nod. Our sunflower tattoos matched. It served as our tiny emblem of joy. Theresa grinned. He claims that if you see one, whether it's in a picture, on the street, or even emblazoned on a shirt, it's him. Greetings. Letting you know that happiness is still yours. Carson felt lighter than he had in years when the reading came to an end. His hand was clasped by Theresa. You no longer have to cling to the suffering. Jamie is still with you. All he's been waiting for is your attention. Then Carson went outside into the cool autumn air. A huge sunflower gazed up at him from atop a street vendor who was selling fresh flowers. Through his tears, he laughed. Hello, Jamie, he murmured. Now I hear you. But the yoga studio on Long Island was silent save for the gentle murmur of Tibetan singing bowls. A circle of yoga students had assembled for a special practice on the hardwood floor, which was illuminated by sunlight filtering through gauzy curtains on a balmy Sunday morning. However, this was not a movement class. It was for the sake of healing. Theresa Caputo, the Long Island medium herself, stood in the front in her trademark long blonde hair and sky-high shoes. Maya Rivers, the studio owner and instructor, invited her since she had been going through a lot of hardship following the untimely death of her Guru Devika. Before the session started, Maya said in a shaky voice, I've been stuck. Since 3 months ago when Devika died away, my tranquility is elusive. I am unable to teach with the same passion. I no longer feel her. She was more than just a teacher. She was the compass of my soul. Sensing the intense anguish clinging to Maya's aura, Theresa put a kind touch on her shoulder. Theresa closed her eyes and felt energy stirring, and the room fell silent. After a moment of gasping for air, she opened her eyes wide. Theresa muttered, She's here. Your instructor, Devika. She is extremely elegant, I must say. She continues to show me the petals of lotuses. Isn't that symbolic? Tears filled Maya's eyes. Yes, the lotus was always a metaphor for her. Blooming in the sun, emerging from the mud. Theresa grinned. My lotus, don't be sad for my body. My soul is still flowing in every breath you take on the mat, she says.
Maya sobbed as she held her chest.
The other pupils watched the holy occasion develop in reverent silence. Theresa took a step forward. Before each class, she asks you to ignite the incense. She used the same one. She claims that she is dancing around the room when the sandalwood smoke swirls. Maya gave a tearful nod. After she passed away, I stopped lighting it. I was so depressed by it. Theresa said, light it again, in a forceful yet gentle manner. Grief, according to her, is a doorway rather than a wall. You simply lost the ability to navigate it. Theresa stopped abruptly and cocked her head. Was she wearing a bell? A tiny copper bell? Maya let out a gasp. Indeed. She started and ended each meditation with it. After the funeral, I put it aside. Let the bell ring again, she says. Tell your pupils that I never left. Maya got up at that point, went to a little table at the front of the studio, and took the bell out of a drawer. She rang it once, her hands shaking. Something changed when a clear, gentle chime sounded in the atmosphere. Maya felt a slight relief of the weight on her chest. "She's pleased with you," Theresa remarked. And she adds, "You're prepared to resume teaching. In full. With your hands guided by her spirit." Instead of posing, the session finished with hugs, sobs, and silent happiness. That night, Maya burned the incense, and as the smoke rose like a prayer, she sat in front of her studio and grinned for the first time in months. To celebrate love, not to conceal suffering. Theresa Caputo muttered, "Another soul found its way home," as she stepped outside into the last of the golden light. She felt that she was once again doing exactly what she was supposed to do. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Mina, and I hope you're having a great day. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the video.